There comes a moment in every person's life when they must decide whether to remain who they've always been or to become someone entirely new. That it is made in the middle of discomfort, self-doubt, and the brutal truth that life is passing you by while you wait for something to change. The truth is, no one is coming to reinvent your life for you. That job belongs to you and you alone. What separates the average from the extraordinary isn't talent, intelligence, or background. It is the ability to take full ownership of one's circumstances and the unwavering decision to become unrecognizable from who they used to be. You don't stumble into transformation. You engineer it. And the first thing you must do is identify the enemy is your excuses. Excuses are the great thieves of destiny. They whisper justifications in your ear, convincing you that now is not the time, or you're not ready, or you're not good enough. But excuses don't come from truth. They come from fear. And fear, if not faced, becomes the architect of your regret. You must come face to face with every excuse you've ever made and hold it accountable. Ask yourself what those excuses have cost you. Opportunities missed, growth delayed, confidence destroyed. Every time you said, "I can't," when you really meant, "I'm afraid to try," you handed your power away. But here's the good news. The moment you take full responsibility, the excuses lose their power. They shrink in the face of your decision to rise. Reinvention isn't just about doing more. It's about becoming more. It's not about adding things to your life. It's about removing the lies, the distractions, and the comfort that's made you forget your power. You cannot change your life with the same identity that created your current one. The thoughts you think, the habits you practice, the standards you tolerate, they have all formed the image you see in the mirror today. And if you're not proud of what you see, then you must change what you do. But let's be clear, change is uncomfortable. Reinvention is painful. It requires that you give up your old self, not gradually, and you cannot negotiate with your old life and expect to live a new one. That version of you who made excuses, who delayed goals, who tolerated mediocrity, and that version has to go. You must let go of that identity like dead weight and walk forward with discipline as your guide, not motivation, because motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes. Discipline, however, is loyal. It's there when you're tired. It's there when you're uninspired. Discipline shows up when nothing else will. The question you must ask is not, how do I change? But who do I need to become? Close your eyes and see that person. Picture how they walk, how they speak, how they carry themselves, what choices they make, and what excuses they never tolerate. That version of you exists, not in some distant future, but in the decisions you make today. Every moment is a vote for who you become. You don't need permission to become powerful. You don't need approval to break free. You need only the courage to decide. And yes, people will notice. Some will admire your transformation. Others will resent it. But let them talk. Let them wonder where you went, why you disappeared, and how you became so focused. You didn't do it for them. You did it for the you that's been buried under doubt, fear, and comfort. You did it because you were no longer willing to live below your potential. You did it because you finally understood that your time is not guaranteed, and your greatness cannot wait any longer. Becoming unrecognizable isn't about ego. It's about evolution. It's about standing in front of the mirror one day and realizing that the person staring back is stronger, wiser, and more relentless than ever before. And it all began the moment you stopped making excuses and started becoming your highest self. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, tired of repeating the same patterns, tired of watching others live the life you know you were meant for, then this is your moment. Kill the excuses, reinvent yourself, and make the world ask, who was that? Because you'll no longer be the same. You'll be unrecognizable, and that's exactly what you were born to become. Change does not come to those who merely wish for it. It comes to those who prepare, commit, and fight for it. Reinvention is not for the passive. It is not for the ones who want results without responsibility. Reinvention demands sacrifice, discipline, and the willingness to endure discomfort for the sake of growth. Most people never become who they were meant to be, not because they aren't capable, but because they cling too tightly to who they've always been. The familiar feels safe, even when it's the very thing destroying your potential. If you want to become unrecognizable, you must be willing to break your pattern. You must question everything. The way you think, the way you respond to problems, the way you speak to yourself, the way you spend your time. Every action you take either reinforces the old version of you or lays a brick for the new one. Reinvention is about intention. You cannot expect a new life if you are still loyal to old habits. The life you desire is waiting on the other side of your discipline, and discipline is built one choice at a time. Start with your mornings. How you begin your day determines the tone for the rest of it. Do you wake up with purpose, or do you hit snooze and delay your goals? Do you feed your mind with vision and clarity, or do you feed it with distractions and doubts? Winners don't stumble into success. They structure their lives around it. They wake up with intention, knowing that every second is a chance to shape their future. Your morning is a mirror of your priorities. If you can win the first hour, you can win the day. Next, examine your circle. Who are you surrounded by? Are they lifting you or limiting you? Are they pushing you to rise or pulling you back into your old identity? You cannot reinvent yourself while staying connected to people who only know the older, weaker version of you. It's not about being arrogant. It's about being protective of your growth. You need to be around people who remind you of your vision, not your excuses. Growth requires alignment. Your environment must reflect your ambition. You cannot build a new life in a space designed to keep you small. Then, look at your self-talk. Your mind believes what you repeatedly say to it. If you constantly tell yourself you're tired, unworthy, or unlucky, your actions will align with that story. Reinvention requires you to rewrite your internal dialogue. Tell yourself every day, I am becoming the strongest version of myself. Say it until you believe it. Say it until your actions prove it. Because when your belief system changes, everything changes. Confidence is not a gift, it's a result. It is earned by consistently keeping promises to yourself. The more you show up, the more you believe in your ability to transform. There will be days you don't feel like pushing. Days where nothing seems to be working. Days when quitting feels like the only option. But remember, those are the exact days that define your journey. Anyone can stay motivated when things are easy. What separates the transformed from the trapped is persistence in the face of resistance. When you continue to show up even when you feel like giving up, you send a message to your subconscious that the old version of you no longer runs the show. That's when change truly begins. That's when you cross over into the realm of becoming unrecognizable. It will require you to face parts of yourself you've been avoiding, your fears, your laziness, your procrastination, your self-doubt. It will require you to outgrow people who once felt like home. It will force you to say no to the habits that gave you temporary pleasure, yes to the systems that build long-term power. This is the cost of becoming the person who no longer needs excuses because they become too focused on execution. Oh, most people give up right before the breakthrough. They stop showing up when it gets hard. They retreat the moment they feel uncomfortable. But not you. You're not here to flirt with greatness. You're here to marry it. That means no matter how many times you fall, you rise. No matter how slow the progress feels, you keep going. No matter who doubts you, you keep showing up. Because this time, you're not just trying to improve a little. You're trying to become someone entirely new. You're not looking for approval. You're building an identity, one rooted in strength, resilience, and relentless pursuit. You must eliminate the safety nets. Burn the backup plans. Stop giving yourself an exit when things get hard. Comfort will always call your name, but so will greatness. And the voice you choose to listen to determines your future. If you want to create a life that people don't recognize, you have to live in a way that most people don't understand. That means waking up early when others sleep. That means working when others scroll. That means studying when others distract themselves. That means growing when others settle. The world does not need more people who are stuck in their past. It needs people who have the courage to recreate themselves, who aren't afraid to outgrow who they were, who kill the excuses, destroy the doubts, and build the life they were born for. That person is within you. But you have to choose it. Every single day, when you begin to consistently show up with purpose, with power, and with passion, you'll become someone no one saw coming. You'll become the version of yourself that once felt like a dream. You'll become unrecognizable, not because you've changed a little, but because you refuse to settle for anything less than the best version of you. That is the mission. And that is the future waiting for you, if you're brave enough to step into it. There comes a time when staying the same becomes more painful than the effort it takes to change. That's the moment of awakening. The moment when the lies you've told yourself can no longer protect you. The truth is too loud to ignore. You realize you're not tired. You're unfulfilled. Oh, you're not unlucky. You're undisciplined. You're not stuck. You're resisting growth. And in that moment, you're faced with a decision. To continue justifying the life you've settled for, or to rise and become someone so transformed that even your past self wouldn't recognize you. To become unrecognizable is to break every rule you once lived by. It's to question the beliefs that shaped your limitations. It's to outgrow the habits that kept you small. It's not just about improvement. It's about identity, death, and rebirth. Who you are today must die, so the next version of you can be born. That's not poetic. That's reality. You cannot carry your excuses into your evolution. They won't fit. You can't bring your procrastination into a future built on discipline. It won't last. The version of you that gets everything you dream about is waiting, but they don't coexist with the one making excuses. Look at your life and ask yourself, where have I let comfort rob me of greatness? Because comfort doesn't just slow you down. It sedates you. It tricks you into thinking you're okay while life passes you by. You keep telling yourself a someday as if time owes you something. But it doesn't. Time rewards the committed and not the convenient. It honors the bold, not the hesitant. And if you want to earn the identity of someone powerful, someone disciplined, someone successful, you have to become the kind of person who no longer negotiates with excuses. Every excuse you make builds a wall between you and your potential. Every justification becomes a prison cell. You say you don't have time, but you waste hours scrolling. You say you don't have energy, but your habits steal your strength. You say you're not ready, but the truth is you're afraid. Afraid of a fate of what others will say. Afraid that maybe you don't have what it takes. But let me tell you something. Fear doesn't go away. You don't wait until you feel fearless to act. You act until fear loses its grip. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what must be done in spite of it. The person you want to become isn't found through comfort. They're found in discipline, sacrifice, and repetition. The unrecognizable version of you is buried beneath 1,000 small decisions you're afraid to make. Wake up earlier, train harder, study longer, speak more truthfully, stand more firmly. Set higher standards. Keep your word. These aren't massive public acts. These are quiet, private wins. These are the building blocks of becoming someone extraordinary. Reinvention is not about talent. It's about tenacity. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a decision. A decision to stop quitting on yourself. A decision to stop giving your energy to things that don't serve your future. A decision to build yourself in the dark while no one is watching. That's where the magic happens. Not on the stage, but in the shadows. Not in applause, but in silence. That's where the new you is born. In the moments you feel unseen, but remain unstoppable. And yes, people will talk. People will question you. People will wonder why you've changed, why you're distant, why you no longer entertain their drama. Let them wonder. Let them talk. Because you're not living for approval anymore. You're living for alignment. You're not here to fit in. You're here to rise above. Reinvention will cost you your old tribe, but it will bring you into alignment with your true calling. And when the world finally sees the results, they won't understand the pain, the solitude, the discipline, the hours you spent becoming someone new. And they don't need to, because you'll know. You'll know what it took. You'll know what you gave. You'll know who you became. You don't need a new year, a new week, or a new opportunity. You need a new level of commitment, the kind of commitment that refuses to lose, the kind of commitment that refuses to accept average, the kind of commitment that makes you unrecognizable, not just to others, but to yourself. That is the mission. That is the standard. Kill the excuses. Rewrite the story. Build the version of you that's been buried by distraction and delay. And when people ask how you did it, you'll simply smile because they wouldn't understand the level of fire it took to become the person you are now. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Becoming unrecognizable is not about surface level upgrades. It's not about changing your clothes, your job, or your social media presence. It's about altering your inner world so drastically that the outer world has no choice but to adjust to the new you. It's about rewriting the operating system of your life. The thoughts you allow, the standards you uphold, the energy you give, and the actions you repeat. Reinvention is the ultimate rebellion against mediocrity, and excuses are the gatekeepers that guard the average life. If you want to rise above who you've always been, you must go to war with every excuse you've ever told yourself. Excuses feel safe. They're soft places to land when things get hard. They're the emotional armor we wear to shield ourselves from the pain of failure or judgment. But here's the truth. While they protect your ego in the short term, they destroy your future in the long run. Every time you say, "I don't have time," what you're really saying is, "I won't make it a priority." Every time you say, "I'm just not ready," what you're really doing is choosing fear over growth. Excuses don't just lie to others. They lie to you. And over time, you start believing them. You start shrinking your vision to fit your excuses instead of expanding your mindset to conquer your goals. The journey to becoming unrecognizable starts when you decide to take responsibility for everything, even the things that weren't your fault. That's the moment you take your power back. You stop waiting for the perfect opportunity. Start creating your own. You stop blaming your past and start designing your future. You stop explaining your failures and start learning from them. Reinvention requires radical ownership. You must be willing to say, "If it is to be, it's up to me." No backup plans. No more hiding behind delay. But reinvention is not glamorous. It's messy, lonely, and often invisible. No one claps for you when you're training at 5 a.m. No one congratulates you for saying no to distraction. No one celebrates your daily grind. But that's where your power is built, in the discipline that no one sees, in the repetition that no one applauds, in the focus that most people can't maintain. The world only recognizes the outcome, but you must learn to fall in love with the process, because the process is where you shed your old skin, layer by layer, and build something stronger in its place. You won't always feel like it. Motivation will leave. Inspiration will fade, but that's not the problem. The problem is relying on them in the first place. If you want to become unrecognizable, you must replace motivation with standards. You must stop negotiating with laziness. You must develop a code of conduct for yourself, one that is non-negotiable. You wake up when you said you would. You train even when you're tired. You show up whether you feel like it or not. Why? Because the new version of you is being built every time you choose discipline over excuses. And let's talk about sacrifice. You will lose things on this journey: comfort, convenience, people, and maybe even approval. But everything you lose will be replaced by something greater: peace, strength, confidence, clarity. You'll start to attract better opportunities, better people, and better energy because you've elevated yourself to a frequency where excuses can't survive. That's when you realize reinvention isn't just about achievement. It's about alignment. It's about becoming the person who is worthy of the life they say they want. You must act now. You've spent enough time talking about change, thinking about change, planning for change. Now is the moment to execute. Because the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to believe it's still possible. The mind adapts to inaction as quickly as it does to momentum. The more you wait, the more your mind starts to normalize stagnation. But when you start moving, even slowly, your mind begins to rebuild trust. You prove to yourself that you're serious, that you're committed, that you're done living the same year over and over again. Don't be afraid to outgrow your former self. Don't be afraid to make people uncomfortable. Don't be afraid to become so focused that others don't recognize you anymore. That's the goal. You're not here to stay familiar. You're here to evolve. Kill the excuses. Replace them with execution. Reinvent yourself so completely that even you are shocked by your own strength. Because when that happens, you won't have to announce the new you. The results will speak louder than anything you could ever say. Transformation is not an event. It's a choice made over and over again until it becomes who you are. To become unrecognizable is not a moment captured in a single decision, but the product of countless days where you refuse to complain and refuse to accept anything less than your highest potential. It's the result of brutal honesty, unwavering commitment, and the willingness to confront every excuse with action. The version of you who lives in your imagination, the powerful, disciplined, fulfilled version, is waiting on the other side of your decision. Not your dreams, not your thoughts, but your decisions. You do not change your life by wishing for better days. You change your life by changing what you do on your worst days. Anyone can act strong when things are easy. Anyone can show up when they're motivated. But reinvention demands something deeper. It asks for your consistency when you're tired, your discipline when you're uninspired, and your courage when you feel like running away. Becoming unrecognizable isn't about doing more than others. It's about doing more than you used to. It's about rising above who you were yesterday, every single day, until the old version of you becomes untraceable. If you want to truly change, you must be willing to detach from your past. Your past may explain you, but it cannot define you, not unless you allow it. So many people wear their history like a heavy coat, dragging it into every new opportunity, every relationship, every goal. But your past is not your prison. It's your preparation. You are not the same person who made those mistakes, took those losses, or lived in that pain. You've learned. You've survived. And now it's time to move forward, not as a victim of what was, but as a creator of what can be. The challenge is this. The new you cannot live in the same patterns. You cannot escape mediocrity while practicing the habits that produce it. You must rewire your routine. Audit your time. Eliminate the distractions that steal your focus. Replace comfort with challenge. Replace convenience with structure. Replace chaos with clarity. That's how you build a life that demands respect from yourself first. Becoming unrecognizable is not about impressing others. It's about respecting yourself enough to stop playing small. It's about living in such alignment with your values that your actions speak long before your words. You must also learn to manage your emotions. Not suppress them, not ignore them, but lead them. You cannot afford to be ruled by temporary feelings when you're building a permanent future. There will be days of doubt, frustration, loneliness, and fatigue. Let them come, but do not let them control you. You're not here to be emotionally comfortable. You're here to be mentally indestructible. Train your mind like you train your body with consistency and challenge. Speak life into yourself, not just when you feel good, but especially when you feel weak, because it's in those moments of weakness that the strongest version of you is formed. Start showing up as if the future depends on it, because it does. The seeds you plant today will become the reality you live in 6 months from now. The effort you put in now will echo into the years ahead. So do not wait for approval. Do not wait for clarity. Do not wait until it's convenient. Decide, act, repeat. That's the formula. That's how progress is made, inch by inch, day by day, until the compound effect kicks in and you wake up one day with a life so different, so elevated that you barely recognize the person you once were. This is your power, the ability to change everything by changing yourself. You don't need luck. You don't need permission. You don't even need motivation. You need relentless focus. You need fierce commitment. And you need to be willing to walk alone for a while if that's what it takes. Because the path of reinvention is not crowded. It's quiet. And when you get there, when you've earned your new identity through discipline, pain, and perseverance, no one will be able to take it from you because you didn't inherit it, you built it. And so it begins. No more excuses, no more waiting, no more recycling the same habits and calling it growth. You know what you need to do. You know who you want to become.
Will you show up for yourself?
You'll choose to become so focused, so disciplined, and so elevated that the old version of you becomes a distant memory? This is your chance to rise, your chance to reinvent, your chance to become truly unrecognizable in the best way possible. There is a version of you that you haven't met yet. Stronger, sharper, more focused, and more capable than the one you see in the mirror today. That version is not a fantasy. It's not a dream. It's a possibility, one that can be realized the moment you stop making decisions, start making decisions. The reason you haven't met that version yet isn't because you're unworthy or unlucky. It's because you're still holding on to the patterns, people, and perspectives that belong to your past. And if you truly want to become unrecognizable, you must let go of what's be and build what must be. Your excuses are the biggest thieves in your life. They steal your ambition, your momentum, and your identity. Every time you say, I can't, I don't have time, or maybe later you give away a little piece of your potential, and over time, those small excuses compound into big regrets. But the good news is that the opposite is also true. Every time you say, I'll try, I'll show up, and I'm not stopping, you claim another piece of the life that's waiting for you. Your life isn't going to change because you hope it does. It's going to change because you show up consistently, especially when it's hard. Reinvention starts with intention. It starts with you declaring, I refuse to stay the same. Not because who you are now is worthless, but because you know you're capable of more. There is nothing wrong with wanting to evolve. There is nothing wrong with outgrowing your current reality. In fact, that's what you're here to do. You were never meant to live a life of repetition and limitation. You were meant to grow, stretch, and transcend the ordinary. But that won't happen while you keep dancing with comfort. Comfort is the quiet killer of purpose. It makes life feel fine while your dreams slowly fade into the background. If you want to become unrecognizable, you need a new standard, not a new wish list. Wishing is passive. Standards are active. Standard is a line you no longer cross. A rule you don't break. A commitment you keep even when no one is watching. You can't expect to change your life if you're still tolerating behaviors that keep you stuck. You can't talk about becoming a new person while still protecting the habits of the old one. The new you is not created by motivation. It's created by a non-negotiable mindset. One that says, I don't care how I feel. I care what needs to be done. When you raise your standards, you raise your life. Your habits change, your energy changes, your environment begins to shift, and it's not always a peaceful transition. In fact, it will often feel like your entire world is breaking apart. That's because it is. The old world, the one that was built around your excuses, needs to fall before the new one can be built, and that's going to require you to be mentally tough. You're going to be misunderstood. You're going to be judged. You're going to feel isolated at times. But none of that matters. What matters is that you don't quit, because the pain of growth is temporary, but the pain of regret is permanent. Becoming unrecognizable also means becoming intentional with your time. You cannot continue to waste your most valuable resource and expect your life to change. Time is your currency. Invest it wisely. Use it to read, train, learn, build, and reflect. Use it to sharpen your mind, strengthen your body, and deepen your discipline. Every hour you waste on things that don't matter is an hour stolen from your future self. You cannot buy your time, but you can use what you have left to create a future so powerful your past becomes irrelevant. Reinvention is lonely work. It happens in silence, when no one is clapping, when no one understands what you're doing, when progress feels invisible. But keep going. Those who change the most are often the most doubted. The world will only understand once the results show. And by then, you won't need anyone's validation, because your life will speak for itself. The way you move, the way you think, the way you handle adversity, it will all be proof that you didn't just improve. You don't need more time. You don't need more chances. You need more courage. Courage to be different. Courage to take the hard road. Courage to silence the noise and listen to your inner voice, the one that keeps telling you, there's more for you. And there is. But it won't come to the version of you that waits. It will only come to the version that works. So go. Cut the excuses. Build the standard. Choose the higher path. And when you finally meet the future, the version you once thought was impossible, you'll smile, not because it was easy, but because it was worth every second of the fight. That's how you become unrecognizable, and that's how you become unstoppable.